So, turn the monitors off for a sec. Let's take a look up here. So this was the definition that I worked with you guys on creating that essentially created the lines of lat and lon from a series of arcs. Okay? So going back through some of this logic, we converted radians to degrees, and we rotated the arc so it was starting as the prime meridian, right? We fed that into there. We gave it how many of the what diameter arc we wanted, and that became the very first arc in this entire thing. If I was to hit spacebar and show it, right, I should be able to click it and see it. I don't know which one it is. I'd have to turn the other lines off. It's this one right there. Okay, that was the prime meridian. That was the very first arc that I created. All right, I don't want that visible, so I'm going to turn that off. Here's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand about this thing. This geometry was all constructed around the world coordinate system, right? So the center of rotation for my polar array, right, was intended to be, the default plane. So that default plane is the world XY. Mr. Edwards, look up here. So when we try and take it and put it into something that's angling, it causes all sorts of problems for us. Okay? So the key lesson to learn here is how to compartmentalize something that's been created on the world origin and use it somewhere else. So for example, let's take a look at that whole thing. So this entire definition creates this. And what do we have here? We've got the north-south pole going through it. That's one thing. We've got the lines of longitude and the lines of latitude. So there are three things in here that if we take all three of those things and put it into a curve component, it's going to make a copy of it. So watch. So I come up here to params. Remember params? Right? So I'm going to take a curve. And I'm just going to drop it here. And into that curve, since it's empty right now, it's orange, right? Now, remember, one way to do it is to feed it stuff from Rhino. But you don't have to do it that way. You can feed it stuff from Grasshopper. So if I feed that circle into that curve, it creates a copy of it. Okay? Notice what happens. When I highlight that curve, what turned green? All the lines of latitude. Okay? All right, so now I need to find the lines of longitude. So let's see where those are. There they are right there. Array polar, right? So if I take that geometry, and I'm going to try and squeeze this over so I can see both of them at the same time. If I take that geometry, hold down the shift key, and also feed it into there, now I've got both sets copied. There's two sets right on top of each other, right? Yeah. There's this one, and if I deselect this, right, there's the red one that's underneath it that's created with this entire definition. So this is making a copy of it. The only thing I got left to do now is I need my north-south pole. So let's go find that, right? North-south pole, looking for line. There's the line, right? And so I'm going to take that line. I think it's this line. I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to take that line, hold down the shift key, and also feed it into the curve. Okay? Nope, that's not the line, so Control Z. It's got to be... What's that? The one coming out of geometry. Line into scale, and I made it twice as big. Yes. So take that, feed it into there. So now everything's highlighted, right? So look what happens when I turn everything in the definition off. So this is the definition. This is the copy of the thing the definition is making. You guys understand that? So I'm going to turn everything in the definition. I'm going to make it invisible. Spacebar, hide. But there's still something there, right? It's this thing right here. Okay? So, So I'm going to turn this stuff back on because I want to show you guys something. So I'm going to turn the visibility back on. Okay, so there's everything in that definition, all turned on. Big mess, right? Now watch what happens when I take this, which is a copy of everything, and I feed it into scale. Right? See how small it got? Now if I put a number slider on here, going from this curve is now being multiplied and I have another copy of it. Right? Does that make sense? So no matter where I put this one, the copy, the original stays at the origin. And I can turn it off and not have to look at it. Okay? Once you make the copy, now the copy you can take anywhere. As long as what it's referencing stays in the world XY, you're golden. It's not going to change. So for example, let's just hypothetically say that in Rhino I drop a point right here. So this is out in the middle of nowhere, right? I can even move it further out. Let's move it out that way and move it over this way. And so that's a point in Rhino, right? How do I feed that into Grasshopper? Point param. All right, let's go to point param. Drop a point param. Set one point. Click on that one, right? So that turns green when I click it, right? Now watch what happens when I take this and feed it into here. Oop, it disappeared. No, it's expecting something different. It's still there, but it doesn't want to do that. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm doing this wrong. Hold on. So watch. I'm going to take this, disconnect it from scale, take the curve and feed it onto the XY plane, which doesn't have a point anymore because I deleted it. All right, so remember last week I told you to use the orient command or the orient tool. So this is the geometry here, and this is the place where we want to put it. Okay, so now if I hide everything except the reoriented geometry, it all stays back there, and I only have the new one to deal with. Okay? Does that make sense? So that's what I was trying to get you guys to do with your lat long lines, combining it with your point that rotates. This XY plane, you have an XY plane that declines, right? And rotates around the sun. So all you had to do was create a curve. You don't have to have the scale component, right? You just take the XY, the orient tool, drop the curve into there, and send it over to that reference plane that's rotating around the sun. Okay? So this video has gotten kind of long, so I'm going to stop it.